Hello everyone, it's Carly Fox and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about Wes Anderson and his movies and the ones I've seen. I already filmed this video once, like 2 hours ago, and then the audio was so messed up because it's my first time using the mic I found and I acquired. And although I do know how to work like this whole freaking system, for some reason when I never recorded on my phone with it. So for some reason when I did like last time, the whole audio was messed up. It sounded crunchy. I sounded like a chipmunk for half of it. Like I don't know why it just didn't like fully I guess capture my voice or my lower register, the lower like register of my voice. It just sounded off and weird. I also have some hot water. I think it's too hot still. Definitely too hot. I'm gonna wait for that to cool down. I've been waiting for like, I'm not even kidding, probably 5 minutes for that to cool down. Quick disclaimer before we start the video. These are just my opinions. If you like any of these films, don't let me get in the way of that. Don't let anybody, whether that be in on the internet or in real life, get in the way of what you like. If you like something, be proud of it. Like defend it with all your freaking might, because that's what makes you. You know, our different tastes, our different ways of thinking and viewing things, and all of that. Oh my god, Bald and the Beautiful episode is premiering right now. Yeah, all that being said, this is just for fun. Like it truly is not like a professional video whatsoever. If you're expecting like a super professional review that talks about every single aspect of filmmaking, I don't think this is it. I'll touch base on like other things that aren't the plot, like character and world building and like editing, and I love to edit, and the sound sometimes, and yeah, color grading, because I feel like that's a very big thing when it comes to Wes Anderson movies. But this is nothing super professional, so if you're expecting that, this is not the place. I'll just be talking about my opinions and how I feel about things. So let's get into it. Okay, so I need my glasses because I have my computer in front of me and I am blind. I am so blind. Also, can you see the scratch? I've had these glasses for I think 2 years, and they're the only like frame that I like, but they're all crooked and the lenses are all scratched up. Like it's actually really annoying. But I can only like notice it when I have like light coming from me. So as you can see, my ring light is reflecting off of them. So I'm so sorry, but I truly need them. I tried to film without it and I can't see. I can't see. That's how blind I am. I can't see like from afar. And even then, my computer's right here. Also, look at my stickers. Anyways, that's besides the point. So I apologize if you can see my ring light through my glasses. I truly just need them to see. And also, don't worry about my neck. I'm scratching it. So Wesley Wales Anderson, which is his full name, is an American filmmaker. I think he's majorly known for his very like eccentric and just visually appealing movies, or some describe them that way. He's known for quirky characters as well as like symmetry and color, or the use of like space in his movies and the color as well. He has written and directed films like The Royal Tenenbaums, Fantastic Mr. Fox, and The Grand Budapest Hotel. I feel like those are three of his most famous ones. I think all of his films are pretty popular, but anyways, he's also written and directed a bunch of short films. One of them won an Oscar in 2024 for Best Live Action Short, and it is The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. Although he hasn't won any Academy Awards for his feature films, he has won many other awards like Critics' Choice Awards, or he's won awards at film festivals for his feature films. So yeah, he's just very talented. He's been critically acclaimed throughout the United States and many other countries around the world. I don't want to make this like a biography of him, but just to tell you like a little bit about him, he was born in May of 1969 in Houston, Texas. I believe he attended the University of Texas in Austin. and graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree in philosophy, which is so interesting. Actually, I thought he'd like go to school for film or like, I don't know, something else, but I was not expecting philosophy. Fun fact, he also went to school with Owen Wilson, very famous actor. I feel like we all know him, who worked with him in writing some of his early work and also just appearing in it. But yeah, back to his films. Most of them are classified under the comedy and adventure genres. They also have romance in them, although I wouldn't say it's like the main genre of them. And I also like to include them in like the very like whimsy, quirky genre of film. Very Amelie, if you know what I mean. Those who know, know. If you know, you know. That's so annoying. I'm so sorry. But you should watch Amelie. On that note, if you haven't seen Amelie, I'm going to be a pretentious film student for a second. Watch Amelie. Oh, and my criteria for this is the fact that I like to consume content and talk about it and analyze it and make videos out of it. And number 2, I went to film school for a year and a half until I decided it was an utter waste of my money. But here we are. I'm putting what I learned to good use. So my inspiration for this video is actually something that is kind of stupid, like utterly stupid, and it is a scene from BoJack Horseman where a character has like problem seeing, and then the problem with his eye gets fixed, and he says, "I'm going to go watch a Wes Anderson movie and see if I can perceive any depth in it."
It's fixed! My depth perception is so much better now! I'm gonna go watch a Wes Anderson movie and see if I can perceive any depth in it!
I feel like that really encapsulates like my feelings towards him. Kind of spoiler alert for what I think about him. About like 8 months ago, I decided I was like still going to school for film, and I was like, I've never seen one of this guy's movies. Like, I probably should, because even if people don't like them, I feel like they did talk about them, whether for good or bad, and I wanted to be in on the conversation. Like, I feel like one thing, if you're going to school for film, you gotta be watching movies, even if you don't think you'll like them. You just gotta be watching stuff. So I decided to like immerse myself in Anderson's world, and I was doing like a weird movie marathon every fucking week, every day of every week except like Sunday. I think I was like doing 6 movies a week, one for every day, and I had a Wes Anderson week, and I was like, why not? And I watched in this order: The Grand Budapest Hotel, Asteroid City, Fantastic Mr. Fox, Moonrise Kingdom, The French Dispatch, and The Royal Tenenbaums. So I'm gonna be giving you guys a brief little synopsis of each and my thoughts, and then I'll rank them at the end, and then I'll talk about whether or not I think he is overrated as a director and writer and whatnot. So the first movie that I watched and that we're going to be discussing is The Grand Budapest Hotel. I feel like this movie is one of the first ones that comes to mind when talking about Wes Anderson. Oh my god, I just remembered something. I had a color theory class because I went to film school, but it was a liberal arts school, or it was like an art and design school. Anyways, I feel like you can guess where I went just by those words. But I had to take a color theory class, which I ended up like not completing, but I had to do a presentation on color in my major, and I used Wes Anderson as a little example. So let me show you guys. Yes, as you can see, that man loves his color. The one in the left corner, the pink one, is from the Grand Budapest Hotel, actually. But yes, this one I feel like is such like pinnacle Wes Anderson. It came out in 2014, and it is an adventure comedy. The plot tells a story of like the events that followed after this woman called Madame D. She has a very long name, like extremely long, but we're just gonna call her Madame D because that's what she's called in the movie. Madame D has been staying at the Grand Budapest Hotel for years, like probably over 2 decades or about 2 decades or something, I think. And she dies. And she leaves this very like precious Renaissance painting to the concierge of the hotel, who is Monsieur Gustave H. And Gustave H is like, oh, they were having an affair. So she leaves that to him, and everyone else is kind of like, that is so weird. Like, that is suspicious. So Gustave and Zero, Mustafa, who is like the lobby boy for the hotel. Zero was hired by Gustave. They have like kind of a close relationship in a way. They both like hide the painting in the hotel, and while all of like that is happening, there's this guy, I forgot his fucking name or what he was, but he, I think, worked at the hotel, and he's like, that's suspicious, the painting's suspicious. So he accuses Gustave of murdering Madame D, and he's like, yeah, he fucking murdered her, duh, obviously. So Gustave is arrested. He's taken to jail, or I think he ended up in prison actually. And then Zero and his fiancee Agatha, who is played by Saoirse Ronan, I love her so much. They try to get him out to prove his innocence, and just a bunch of other things happen. Like, that film is like actual crack. Like, it's a lot going on, but I feel like it's a very Wes Anderson. Yeah, honestly, my memory is kind of failing me, and I don't want to say anything incorrect, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. Watch it if you are interested in knowing what it's about, or I'm sure there's like a bunch of YouTube videos about it, so you can go watch that too. But honestly, I'd recommend watching it. So I did really like this film when I first watched it. I liked the color grading. It's very like pink and pastel-y. Like, the colors are very pastel. I think you can see that like in the movie poster, which I'll be putting on the screen probably a couple times. I really like the cinematography. I think that's one of the things Anderson really excels at. I think that's one of the things that makes him a very well-known filmmaker. His kind of like use of symmetry and just the screen. Like, he truly knows how to use the space and make the most of it to evoke a certain type of feeling. And I also like the characters. There's a lot of characters, which we'll be getting into, because I feel like that can be a con at times. But overall, I thought it was just a kooky movie. Like, I have a film journal, which is way too far to reach right now. But I remember like writing about it when I finished it, and the word I literally used was kooky. I thought it was just a kooky film. I do remember being kind of confused by the plot at certain points. First of all, because I'm a little scatterbrained, okay? I feel like my brain's already all over the place, so it's like hard to focus when I watch certain movies. Like, some of them will like hook me immediately, but some of them I actively have to like try to pay more attention to, which I do. I try to like push myself to actually do so, and I feel like that was the case with this one. But yeah, I feel like it was kind of hard to pay attention to the plot at times because there's so many characters. Let me explain that. Since we have so many characters just coming in and out of scenes, and who all kind of seem equally important, like, you have like the main characters, and then there's like everyone else, and they all play like a part in the plot. I feel like I was just thinking about the characters and who they were and trying to keep track of all of that, and then the plot was going on, which was a lot, so I was just getting jumbled up in everything. I think this is definitely a movie that does require a rewatch. I wrote down in my notes that it was a lot of work trying to keep track and figure out everything that was going on, which can be beautiful and artistic in its own way, but I don't necessarily like doing a lot of mental gymnastics while watching the film, which I agree. I don't really like having to think about all of these things while I'm actively watching it. I would much rather like watch something that I can understand, and whether it's concise or not, and then just kind of think about it afterwards, you know. I do think it does work for Anderson's films because he has a style that is just very, I don't want to say all over the place, because I feel like that sounds offensive and it sounds like I'm saying it's messy, but it's kind of like an organized mess. It's like, I don't know, it's like your room. Like, so you know how even if your room is kind of messy, you have kind of like a place for everything and it makes sense to you. And then if someone else comes in the room, they're like so messy. Or if like when you were a child, this used to happen to me all the time. When I was a child, like sometimes my mom or my grandma, they used to clean up after me, or like if I was like at school or something and they saw that things were like not in order, they would like fix it for me. But then I would just get really upset because that's not where things go. Like, why are you putting that there? That it's not its place. I feel like that's kind of Wes Anderson's movie. They're all like an organized mess in a way. And not to say that he's the only person that can understand it, because I do think this is the type of organized mess that a lot of people and viewers can see and can appreciate and can also rock with it. You know what I mean? That being said, I think it was very well written. I did really like this. Like, it was just, I wouldn't say it's my favorite from the ones I watched, you know, but it's up there. My overall rating for Grand Budapest Hotel is 3.5 out of 5. The more I talk about this film and the more like I wrote about it, while doing this, I was like, ooh, the ghost of, actually it's not a ghost. My windows are open. It's wind. Go with the program. But yeah, the more I like talked about it and the more I wrote about it in my script, the more I was like wanting to rewatch it, which wasn't the case when I started. I feel like when I started, I was just kind of like, ugh, here we go, talking about the Grand Budapest Hotel. Like, yeah, let's move on to our next film. Do you guys like my Christmas mug, even though it's almost February? My best friend gave it to me, so you better say yes. So our next film is Asteroid City. Asteroid City came out in 2023, and it is a drama comedy, and I'd say it also has like sci-fi elements. I don't know if I would consider it fully sci-fi, because it's not sci-fi. Like, the vibe of it and the elements of it as a whole are not sci-fi. It just has sci-fi things in it. So, fuck me if I'm wrong, but Asteroid City is a play within a TV show within a movie. So, like, you're watching the movie, and it's like a TV show that's being presented, and in the TV show, they're presenting a play, which is Asteroid City. It takes place in the 50s, and it is about this junior stargazing convention, and, like, the very hectic moments that lead up to it and after, I guess. The place itself takes place in Asteroid City, which is like a deserted town just in the middle of fucking nowhere. I'm gonna try to not make this confusing, but the parts in the movie the play are in bright saturated colors, and then the parts that are the TV show are in black and white. Most of the movie is the play, but there are some like little intermissions of the TV show at the beginning, throughout the middle a little bit, and then at the end. I honestly couldn't tell you that much about what happens in the TV show because I was confused, not gonna lie. I was also very distracted while watching those parts. Like, I remember exactly where I was, and I was just kind of not paying attention, but I was paying attention to the colorful parts. But yeah, in the play, which is, I guess, our main plot, we are shown a group of different people all coming from different parts. Some of them being like student honorees with like their parents, others being like elementary school students and their teacher. I think we have like a photojournalist. We have an astronomer, I believe, or some sort of scientist in there. And these people all come to Asteroid City for the convention. And as I said before, there's just a lot of chaos going on. UFO shows up, and the government's like, okay, we gotta shut this down, because the government be like that, you know what I mean? They Area 51 basically, and they put everyone into lockdown. They're like, okay, you guys, you aren't supposed to see this, like, this is confidential, you need to keep quiet, and you need to be in lockdown until we figure out what the hell is happening. So the government's kind of doing that. Meanwhile, all the characters are just kind of stuck where they are. And yeah, a lot of other things happen. Again, I feel like you should just watch it. I actually really, really, really recommend this movie. I really liked this movie. Like, I thought it was quirky. I thought it was funny. I thought it was kind of different from his other films. It still had that same vibe. It felt kind of futuristic. I liked it because it was 50s, but it wasn't like 50s. It was like a futuristic 50s. Like Meet the Jetsons meeting the actual 50s. If that makes any sense. Which, by the way, correct me if I'm wrong. I'll put it up on the screen. But I think the dad from Meet the Jetsons would have been born either last year or this year. And in the show, he's like, what, in his 40s, 50s? I don't even know. But he was born recently, if we're going with the timeline of the show. He's a baby. He's Gen Alpha. That is so crazy. Back to Asteroid City, though. Yes, I did really like this. It plays around with the cinematography and color grading a lot, like a lot of Anderson's other films. I do think that this one accomplished it the best, though. I completely adore the color palette that was chosen for this, and also the costumes. Like, I love it. It's just a vibe. It's a freaking vibe. And I also really like the setting and how they played around with that, and like set designing. God bless the set designers of the world, okay? And God also bless the sound designers of the world. You guys are very overlooked and overrated. My favorite class that I ever took in college was a sound design class that I had to take, even though my major was film. And honestly, I was this close to switching my major to sound. I think I like that better at the end of the day, but we're not doing that anymore. So back to the setting. They like really made sure that you as a viewer felt like immersed in that desert with the characters. It really felt like I was in the middle of nowhere. I was like, it was like kind of creepy, and I don't think the movie's creepy. I actually think it's like so serious at times in such an unserious way. Like, I don't know if that makes any sense. It's so comical. It's just so great, and you did feel like you were in that friggin' desert with all of them. For some reason, I think in this movie, well, not, I don't think, there are a lot of characters, which is a constant, like a consistent thing in Anderson's movies, like just a bunch of freaking characters, which normally are a problem for me because, again, I have a hard time keeping up sometimes. But for some reason in this film, I like could tell everyone apart so easily. I don't know if it was because they were all very different, or because a lot of the actors I recognized, which a lot of these films do have, like, the actors, like, overlap, because he tends to work with the same people, which is such a Hollywood thing. Like, it's like school. Like, if you're ever wondering why a certain director or actor or whatever person in film always works with the same people, it's because it's like a school project. You want people who if you have 3 days to work on a little project at school for science class, you want people who you know will actually work, and not only work, but like do it well. So people, even if sometimes they do pick their friends, but sometimes they just have people they like working with, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna be able to be done with the movie in X amount of months and not go over budget or whatever. Which I feel like is such a logical thing when you really think about it. But I feel like even I've questioned that sometimes. I'm like, man, why is this man in every one of his freaking movies? It's because not only are they friends, but they can trust each other, therefore making the whole experience a much easier task for everyone, therefore not wasting any time nor money, because that's the biggest thing Hollywood likes, money. But yeah, I like the characters. They were easy to kind of like differentiate while still keeping up with whatever the hell was happening in that movie. And I have no major complaints about it, which unfortunately does not apply to the next film we're going to be discussing. Oh, and my total rating of Asteroid City is a 4 out of 5. So I'm going to take a deep breath before I start talking about this. The next movie is Fantastic Mr. Fox. This movie came out in 2009, and it is a comedy adventure with stop motion animation. I believe I'm going to confirm this right now, but I believe it is either the first or second movie that Wes Anderson has done that is stop motion, I believe. Okay, I think it's the first one. And he also has another one called I Love Dogs, which I believe is also stop motion. Yes, Isle of Dogs came out in 2018, while Fantastic Mr. Fox came out in 2009, so almost a decade apart. But yeah, this movie is one of his most favorite ones, and I feel like this is a movie a lot of people say like, yes, I like underground movies, I like Wes Anderson films, he's so deep, I love Fantastic Mr. Fox. Let me stop being a hater and tell you what this is about if you don't know already. But it is about a fox who steals from farmers, basically. So Mr. Fox and his wife, Mr. Fox and his wife Felicity, are both looking for a stable living situation, especially now that they have a son. At the beginning of the movie, they're like hunting chickens, and then they get caught in a trap, and she's like, I'm pregnant, we can't keep doing this, we're gonna have a baby. So after having their son, Ash, and Felicity's niece moves in with them, who I believe is around Ash's age. They're both, I think, around high school aged. They're teenagers, either middle school or high school, somewhere in between that. They're both living with Felicity and Mr. Fox, and Felicity's like, please stop freaking stealing from the farmers because you're gonna get killed and I can't lose you, and we also don't have money, so get on your feet, man, you know what I mean? And he's like, no. So he keeps doing that, and then he brings along Felicity's nephew or niece. I wrote niece, but I think it's nephew. What the fuck am I saying? I meant nephew. His nephew, her nephew. Can you tell I don't really care about this fucking movie? And I've also been talking about the second time filming this. Let me know if you guys want more ASMR, because I love watching it, so I'll do more. That's my currently most watched video is my ASMR video. Anyways, Mr. Fox keeps going on these little like heist type adventures to the farmers. I believe there's 3 farms nearby. They're like the head farmers, and they produce different things. And in one of these, he's like getting in trouble, and then they live happily ever after all the issues get solved. I know people really like this film. I personally don't, but I'll tell you why. I'll say it as it's written in my notes. This movie was such a nothing burger for me. Girl, get serious. But I think it's mostly because, first of all, I am not a big animation girl. Okay, I think this movie, it can be a children's movie, but I think it's like a more adult movie, if I'm being completely honest. Well, not really. It could be a children's movie. I have no idea if this is like a thing children watch, or is it, because I feel like every single person I've seen talk about it has been like an annoying art student who's well like in their 20s. And I don't remember anyone saying like, yes, I used to love that movie as a kid. So let me know if that's like if it's typically a children's movie. I have no clue. Can you tell I don't care about it? Anyways, I don't think it was like a bad film. It was just not for me. So I'm gonna critique the hell out of it and the parts I didn't like. I thought it was boring. I didn't really care for any of the characters. And the plot, I was just like, this is kind of stupid. Like, I just don't care. This fox is stupid. I liked Felicity because I believe that's Meryl Streep. And she's obviously, like, that's mom. Hello. But yeah, I just didn't care. There were some, like, moments of vulnerability which allowed the film to get deep. And I feel like that's the reason a lot of people like it, because it is so, like, silly, goofy. Yet it also has these moments of, like, damn. You know what I mean? Which I don't want to say enjoyed, but I was like, okay, I'll allow this. I'll allow it. And it felt like it was a complete waste of my time. 2 things I did like and were working for me were, all had to do with sound. So again, shout out to my sound designers and all that. I liked the sound aspect of it. I liked the voice acting. I liked the soundtrack. I liked just the sound design in general. I thought it was good. And that's kind of all I liked. Overall, I give this movie a 1.5 just out of 5, just because it was pretty to look at times. I honestly didn't really care that much. I'm not the biggest like visual person. I don't know why. I think it's because partially I'm blind, so I think my body has just stopped like stopped relying on that body. I'm not a very big visual person. I'm more like into auditive stuff, or like the experience and how it makes me feel. And this movie didn't really make me feel much. Again, did like the sound design, so it's like a pro, but honestly, didn't really care that much about it visually. I will say, if you like animation and stop motion animation, you will like that. I think they did a good job with that. It was beautiful in that way. But yeah, 1.5 out of 5. Let's move on. So our next little film we're gonna be discussing is Moonrise Kingdom, which they recently put on Netflix. So if you have Netflix, you can watch. But Moonrise Kingdom came out in 2012, and it is a romance comedy / I'd even say adventure movie. It's like little bit adventure, more whimsy and comedy, and a little romance, or a lot romance actually. It is about these two 12-year-olds and their summer love story. It follows Sam, a little boy who is an orphan and is currently attending a summer camp, and Susie, who is currently living at home with both her parents and her 3 younger brothers, I believe. They meet at a little church play. I could be mistaken about this, but I'm pretty sure at the church they're putting on either Noah's Ark. And if they don't do that at first, that happens at the end. There's some biblical stuff in there. Like at the end, it starts to like rain because there's a storm, and it's very much like God is flooding the earth type vibe. They both meet at the church thing, and they decide they like each other. They have a little crush on each other, so they become pen pals. And yeah, one thing leads to another, and they run away together. At the age of 12, they go into the woods, and they're like, if they're not gonna let us be, we're gonna leave and be. So they go, and then things kind of take a turn when they realize the children are gone. Like Susie's family's kind of very worried. I'd be too if my 12-year-old daughter ran away with boy to the woods. Girl, sit your ass home. Like, let's watch Cocomelon or some Actually, no, my children will not be watching Cocomelon if I have any. We'll watch Franklin the Turtle. I do think this movie takes place at an earlier decade. I'm gonna check. Yes, it takes place in the 60s, mid 60s. Yeah, they run away together, and then they realize they're gone, like the Susie's family, and then the camp people, like his campmates and counselors and whatnot. So they embark, I guess, on a search for them. And it's just a lot of things going on. And you should probably watch it. I don't know, you should probably eat. I surprisingly thought this movie was good. I did not think I was going to like it. Like, it started and I was like, ew. And then, like, the early and middle bits, I was like, oh, I love this. This is so cute. And then the end, I was just kind of like, okay. That was a movie. It was quirky. It was funny. It was really, really cute. I liked seeing, like, a different version of like young love, because I feel like usually when they present like young love, first time like finding someone you love, sorry, my desk is like right here, so I'm like gripping it, but whenever I see that in any sort of movie or media or whatever, it's like 2 teenagers who are very toxic and cheating on each other and also have unprotected which, like, I don't need to be saying, you know what I mean. But this was really like innocent and just adorable. Very cute. I thought the characters were interesting, and the scenario was also like, I don't know, it was just really cute. It was fun to see. And it I think the setting was also very, very effective for what they were doing. It takes place in the fictional island of New Penzance. Is that how you say it? I don't know. Which is off the coast of New England. They're kind of just like living the island life. They're out in the woods. They're in the grass. No electronics to be seen because it's the mid 60s. But yes, I like the vibe of that movie a lot. It's very summer, which, like, no duh, it happens in the summer. But I feel like this movie is like one you would watch on just a summer day when you're bored and you have nothing to do. I do think that some parts in the middle kind of dragged out, in my opinion. No offense. But I do think there's like the search for the children, which was like, it had its moments. It had cute moments, it had funny moments. And then it was just like, okay, can we get this over with? Can we do something else? And then the end wasn't bad at all, but it didn't particularly catch my attention in any jaw dropping or world shifting ways, if that makes any sense. It did seem to get like more absurd and like kind of comical as the film went on, which is very like Wes Anderson. And yeah, it just felt a little boring to me at times, because it's not that it's slow paced or that it's actually boring. I don't think it is. It just felt like, I don't know what it felt like, because honestly, I'm not a big action girly. Like, I'm not asking to see them like sword fighting, you know what I mean? I don't really care. It was just like, I don't know, it felt a little flat to me at times. I also don't really, I'm like still deciding on whether or not if to like this movie. Like, I don't know if I like it. And there's also this interesting theme in there. It's not like deeply explored. No, let me just say that. But it is, I guess, touched on briefly with the children, and it is like child sexuality. Which I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of it. I can definitely like see it in the film and be like, okay, it's interesting that they chose to include that. I don't know how to feel about it though. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing weird. The children are like in the forest. Like, don't worry, it's nothing like that. That would definitely be a problem, and I would have talked about it if it happened. But it's nothing crazy. It's just like talks more about like children's curiosity with, I guess, those types of like more sexual and mature relationships, and how they equate that to like being more grown up, I guess. Which, as I'm explaining it out loud, it doesn't really sound that bad. But when I watched it, I was just like, okay, I don't need to see the children like do all that. They weren't doing anything, but you know what I mean. Like, I was just like, can we avoid the subject entirely? I just don't like I don't like that stuff when it comes to children. And a part of me is kind of like, it wasn't like a terrible thing to include, because children, not all children, but I have heard of stories of people who from a younger age feel the need to like explore themselves in that type of way. Is it a completely appropriate thing? I'm not going to say no, because I think it's a natural thing. And who am I to shame people for being people, even if it's at a young age? But it's also not a thing that should be like, I don't know. It's a very delicate subject, is what I'm going to say. And it should be treated with a lot of care, and it should be revised by experts and all that stuff, because there are weird people out there. But yes, moving on. I feel like that was a very stupid rant. But moving on to the next film, which is The French Dispatch of the Liberty Kansas Evening Sun. Long ass title. I did not know it was called all of that until recently. And I watched this like 8 months ago. But The French Dispatch came out in 2021, and it is a drama comedy. I think I remember, I'm sorry, I'm gonna flip my freaking camera. I think I remember the least from this film out of all of the films I watched. And I had to research a little bit about like the plot. The more I researched it, the more it came back to me for when I watched it, if that makes sense. So The French Dispatch tells a story of 3 different issues that were published in a magazine after the editor dies. So Arthur Hotzer Jr. states in his will that he wants 3 stories along with his obituary to be the last stories the magazine ever publicates. This takes place in 1975 in a fictional French town called Ennui-sur-Blaise. I'm gonna look up the freaking pronunciation. Ennui-sur-Blaise. I think that's how it is. Blaise. Ennui-sur-Blaise. This is how you write it. But yeah, it's in a fictional town, like a lot of Anderson's films, which honestly, I do think it's a smart move to have fake places when it comes to, or fictional places. I do. Fake sounds so unprofessional. Fictional places when it comes to fictional stories, because a lot of the times people get caught up in making a fake story, fictional story, be set in a real time period, in a real place with historical events, which can be great. It can be beautiful. It can be a masterpiece if done correctly. But if you don't do your research, it can lead to like not so great things to happen with the outcome of the film. Like, it can be insensitive, it can be inaccurate, it can be like, I don't know, I feel like you put so much more on the line when it comes to that. So I'd always advise people that if you're gonna do real world, real place things for a fictional story, always research, unless you like lived it. If you lived it, great. If you don't, do your research, talk to people. But anyways, back to the 3 issues. The first one is called The Concrete Masterpiece, which tells a story about this troubled artist who was in prison for murder. I believe double murder. Damn, double homicide. I don't know if it was homicide, but it seemed intentional. So definitely first or second. The second issue is Revisions to a Manifesto, which follows a group of students manifesting against the police through like a chess revolution, and it's also like romances in there, but also like, I don't know, it's a lot going on. And then the third issue is The Private Dining Room of the Police Commissioner, which recounts the events of a dinner at the police's force commissioner's house after, and like the events that follow after his son gets kidnapped during the dinner. So yeah, all 3 of these stories are done by different journalists from the magazine. I forgot to mention, I think they're an American magazine based in France. So that's why like they speak English and write their issues in English. But I think half the movie is like in French, or like a lot of it is in French when they retell the stories. A lot of the characters speak French. I remember most from the first and second issue. I have literally zero recollection of the third issue, which is a little crazy. I remember the first issue is very interesting. There's this girl, this actress, I forgot her name, but she's gorgeous, like drop dead gorgeous, stunning. I'm literally in love with her. She's in the first story. She's French. I don't know her name. She's in a lot of things. She's very famous, very talented. I also remember a lot from Revisions to a Manifesto because Timothy Chalamet was in that. And I remember that in that part, the journalist who was in charge of the story wasn't having much journalistic integrity, because she got involved with the people in the story. And I will not spoil much, but you should watch it. I think that part was actually really good. And it's a lot more than just like them trying to manifest against the police. I believe it started because these boys from like a school wanted to be able to go to the girls' dorm, so they were like protesting about that, and it just like continued to build up and turn into a whole nother thing. But yeah, similar to the Grand Budapest Hotel, this film goes back to like Anderson's like all over the place kind of absurd type of story. I think the premise is very like unique and interesting, but honestly did not stand out to me after watching all of these. I was also very like just burnt out on Wes Anderson at this point. I think I was watching this on like either Thursday or Friday after watching the other movies we talked about literally day after day before that. So yeah, at this point I was just like, get me out of here. I think this one is one that requires a lot of your attention, because there's a lot of people that don't necessarily have anything to do with each other. Like 3 different issues. Like you have the people from the magazine, and you have the journalists, and then the very eccentric characters that protagonize the stories that they are like sharing and whatnot. But yeah, I might rewatch this one in the future. It wasn't bad at all. It was just like not my favorite movie ever, but it was fine. My final rating for this one is a 3 out of 5. And last but not least, my freaking favorite, the Royal Tenenbaums, which I don't know. I don't know how correctly I'm saying their fucking last name. Tenenbaum. The Royal Tenenbaums. This is a drama comedy and it came out in 2001. So it follows the Tenenbaum family and their 3 children. 3 children are like basically prodigies. Like they're all very good and successful at something by the time they're teenagers. And right around this time, their parents tell them that they're getting separated, not divorced, separated. And then it fast forwards, I think about 22 years into the future. And now all these kids are adults who are just kind of like burnt out, and doing their own thing, haven't really spoken to each other or their parents in a while. And then they find out his dad or their dad has cancer, stomach cancer. So they're like, oh we gotta go see him probably. So they all get together back in their house. Mind you, their mom's still living there and their dad, well, I don't know, I think their dad was living like at a hotel, but the mom was still living there and they were still married legally, just separated. Spoiler alert for the movie, like actual spoiler. Their dad fakes his cancer because he finds out that his, I guess, still wife is actually engaged to someone else, and he's like, I've had enough of that. I can't do it. So Royal, who's the dad, he's like, I'm just gonna fake cancer, so my children come back, and she feels sorry for me, and she doesn't legally divorce me and leave me. So obviously, a bunch of freaking drama ensues after that. A lot of weird things, like very, very weird things happen in that movie. And I loved every single part. I'm glad this is the last one we discussed because, again, it is my favorite one. It is one of my favorite movies ever, if that tells you anything. And even if it's like weird or off-putting at times, as I mentioned, it was still fucking good. It was so good. It was so good. I think all the characters had like a lot of humanity in them, which again, I'll talk about this briefly after. But I think a lot of the things in Anderson movies, especially some characters, always tend to fall a little bit flat for me. Going back to the BoJack Horseman quote. But these ones really felt more human to me. They felt more real. But yes, I think that the themes that the movie has as well, which are like familial struggles and the theme of like burnout within the children, was also like a little bit too real. I was like, oh. But it made me love it even more. Not to say that you can't like something if you don't relate to it, because you definitely can. But I feel like it's easier to like something when you can relate to it, and it can also help you like just understand it better and like relate. I don't know, relating to it, it makes things better sometimes. It made me appreciate it a lot more, definitely. I think this one is like the most vivid one in my memory out of all of the movies I watched that week. Not because it was the last one, it was just my favorite. Whether it be like the first one I'd watch or the last one, I think it would still be the most vivid one. I'm back. I probably put it in the video already, but I did run out of storage. I don't delete anything ever from my phone. So I think Wes Anderson is talented. I think he has a very good eye for what he does for film. Naturally, I think it's something that comes to him naturally, considering he didn't really like study it. He like studied philosophy and then just kind of went into it, I guess. I think I read somewhere that he had been like making little films and stuff since he was younger, which I feel like is the case with a lot of filmmakers. Like I feel like most people that went into film that I knew, that was like the case with them. It was the case with me. But yes, he I think he's very talented. I think he has an eye for cinematography. I think he has an eye for color. I think he is a good writer. Like I think his movies are funny. I think the plots are, when boiled down, something quite simple, but then he likes to add all these layers to it to complicate the plot. which I think works in his favor a lot of the time. A lot of the time, not always. But apart from that, I think it's very rare to see like a lot of emotional depth from him, which, don't get me wrong, I don't think you need that to be a good filmmaker. And obviously you don't need that to have success in the business. Not only using him as an example, but like I'm more so referring to so many other people out there who make movies and they're terrible, and still successful, still have a lot of money. But yeah, I just think that if you're a person that likes to get really deep and emotional and like just layers of feelings and like complex emotions, his films aren't like the pinnacle of that. They are a fun time though, and they are like a fun little journey that you get to go on with different characters. Very crazy, quirky characters, as I've mentioned throughout this whole entire video. But yeah, I'll let you be the judge of whether he's overrated or not, because I feel like that's a very personal thing to someone's like just taste and what they like to watch, and also just your mood depending on the day, that point of your life. Also, forgot to reapply my little lip gloss and lip liner, but that's fine. It's okay. If you made it this far, I feel like we're locked in. So you don't need to see me with makeup on. It's fine. You can I'm like I was gonna say I was at my worst, but I'm very not. I'm actually very happy right now. Thank God. Thank you. I don't even believe in God, but thank God. But yes, thank the universe for everything. Take care of yourself. Go watch some of Wes Anderson's films. Hopefully you find, if you haven't seen them, hopefully find one that you think you're gonna like based off like what I discussed about them, considering what you as a viewer might like. And if you end up watching one of them that you hadn't before, feel free to come back and like share with me in the comments. I'm really interested in knowing what people have to say on the internet in more of like a conversational way, because I feel like when it comes to film, people would get really defensive, and it's not fun to really converse with people online because they'll dox you and they'll put your address on Twitter, like. But I hope all of you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, a wonderful morning, a wonderful night. I hope you have sweet dreams tonight. I don't know what time it is where you're watching this. I'll see you guys next week. I don't know what video I'm gonna be coming out with next, but whatever it may be, I hope you come on my journey with my videos the same way Wes Anderson takes you on a journey. Okay, that's enough.